ما لقيتش بكل البلد محامية فلسطينية، ما لقيتش غير واحدة من بولندا.
بدك اياها تشلح الكندرة، طيب احكي لها. She really loves your hair.
Thank you.
She wants you to take your shoes off and she wishes you weren't Polish.
Joking.
A lot of jokes. I'm an Arab American. That's how it works here in America. You have something before American. African Americans, Mexican Americans, Asian Americans, and Native Americans, unless you're white. If you're white, you just sprouted from the cornfields of Ohio, and you just spread across this great land. Unless it's St. Patty's Day, then you're like, oh, my great-granddaddy was a quarter Irish.
Hello, I'm Jason Rezaian. I'm a global opinions writer here at the Washington Post, and welcome to Washington Post Live for another program in the Race in America series. Joining me today is stand-up comedian, co-creator, and star of the new Netflix series, Mo. Amer, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Just a quick note for our audience. We want to hear from you as well. So send us your questions for Mo via Twitter using the handle @PostLive. Let's get started. Mo, you've talked about how this show explores belonging and your experiences. I've had the opportunity to watch the show. I binged it over a weekend, and I watched your 2 Netflix specials as well. So I've got a ton of questions for you. But I'd love it if you. But I'd love it if you just start by telling us about your own experience and how you've explored belonging in this country in the series.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've explored it through my art, which has been such a relief to have, and something that has helped me. It's been very therapeutic for me, and it's been a great way to articulate how I view things in the world. But belonging in America is really one of the fundamental things of being American. It's just like you get here, it's fish out of water. You're trying to understand where you come from when you look around, and you see that landing in Houston, Texas, most diverse city in America, that it is that you do belong here. That it takes a while for everybody else to catch up, but once they do, they appreciate you even more.
I have not spent any time in Houston, but I understand a bit about the demographics. It is sort of the city of the future of America in a lot of ways. Talk about it as a character in Mo, because that sense of place is such an essential part of what you've created here.
Yeah, it was really important to me to highlight the city in a flattering way, in the way I see Houston. And the way I did that was the way I would describe the show to my director and the DP is like I wanted it to be shot like an urban western. There's all these Houston has the cloud formations that come off of the Gulf, really special and rich and just bold, and the sun is always beaming a certain way that is just a little bit different than anywhere else, and just describe it as an urban western, just kind of getting those spaghetti western shots while also getting the backdrop and the authenticity of what Houston is.
Well, I hope that at some point I can come down to Houston and enjoy, a series of meals with you, because it seems like a great place to eat as well.
It's the best food city in America, guaranteed. I know there's a lot of cities going to take this personal, but I'm ready. I'm ready to put it up against you. I promise you, it's one of the best cities in the world for food, in the world even, not just America. It's pretty spectacular. You can go to one shopping mall and one little shopping strip, and then just have Nigerian food next to Vietnamese food, next to Chinese food, next to Mexican food, next to Arab food. And every time you walk in there, you just be in a different land. It's pretty spectacular.
It seems like it. In the show, one of the many challenges of Mo's immigration status is that he doesn't have a work permit. And so he has to resort to, taking different types of jobs and working under a table. And we've got a clip. Let's take a quick look.
I got some brand new Dita Grandmaster 6 Rose Gold plated sunglasses. See how they feel. Check it out, check it out, check it out. Hey, cold, bro. You look amazing.
Yeah. Oh, hey, these is it.
Fire, bro. They classic and timeless. Just like my whip, bro.
Hey, no, this ain't classic. It's just old.
My father gave me this car before he died, man.
I ain't mean no disrespect, bro. Just, look, I can do 50.
And now you being disrespectful.
Wait, hold on.
You don't deserve these. No. You wasting time.
Okay, wait.
What?
$100. Come on, talk to me. $100.
You getting closer. Look, I'm gonna throw in this leather case.
Okay.
Genuine leather.
Okay.
And this box with the proper paperwork, 125. Period. Don't even try it. Just say yes.
All right. Yeah, you got a deal. Okay.
Something that clip reminded me of is what a shape changer your character is. I mean, in different settings with people of different backgrounds, you really are able to kind of connect with the person that you're talking to, employing their vernacular, really standing in their shoes. How much of that has been part of your immigration journey in America?
It's been a big part. I mean, going back to what I was saying about being a fish out of water, and then quickly realizing that you need to communicate with everyone, like assess people really quickly, and find a way to communicate with them in a way where they feel comfortable with you and they feel that you're one of them. And it was just something they just had to do for like survival purposes. Yeah, that was a big part of it. Can you expand on the question too? Is about belonging and.
Well, I mean, just that in that sense of just the different communities that you come in contact with in the show. African Americans, you're in a relationship with a Mexican character, your own, Palestinian brethren, your Nigerian best friend. I mean, there's just a lot going on here.
No, it is, and that's just a testament to the city of Houston. I wanted to constantly make sure that to showcase the most diverse city in America in a proper way. Aside from having one of the most diverse casts on television, Houston is that place. The suburb of Alief, where I grew up, where the show takes place, there's 80 languages spoken in that suburb alone.
Wow.
That's pretty staggering stat for the population. So I that was something that was very easy to do in the show. It was something important to do and to reflect it accurately. But as far as like the diversity and how the character Mo really just works his way and navigates his way through selling stuff in the back of out of his truck or out of his car, out of his trunk, and whether he's trying to feel like he belongs in the city that loves him, that raised him, but also just like he sells Yeezys to a Southern man, and he approaches him with a Southern accent to make him feel comfortable, and gives him a couple of phrases that brings him in even closer to him, and that way he can pull off the sale.
It really shines through. One thing, I have a process question. I watched your two Netflix stand-up specials after I watched the show, and there's so many of the bits from your stand-up shows that you're able to kind of translate into scenes. Talk about that process. That ain't easy. What was that like? And how far in advance did you know that? This is something that I want to act out with multiple characters at some point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a mixture of things. So like the flashback in episode 7 where my family is fleeing the Gulf War in Kuwait and coming to Houston. That's something I put together about 9 years ago, about 8 years ago, 8.5 years ago. And so it's always been in the works. And then from your stand-up, my stand-up is drawn from my real experiences. So some of them it was just such a pleasure to explore it on television, where you perform it in stand-up and it's just you, but now bringing it to life and able to fictionalize it and mold it in a particular way where it fits into the story was a lot of fun.
Now, there are two really important relationships, and multiple important relationships in the show, but there's two primary relationships: the one with your mom, and the one with your Mexican Catholic girlfriend. talk about those relationships. Talk about Mo's relationships, and what's most vital and important to this character.
Yeah, there's the mom, there's the girlfriend, there's the brother that's also important, and there's the relationship with his father, his deceased father, that also shapes him today. And I can't talk about the mom without, acknowledging the dad relationship, which he lost at a young age, which really makes sense when you see him in modern day and present day, that he's overcompensating with his mom and he's making sure he doesn't make the same mistakes that he made with his father. And then you have episode 2, which is like a complete dedication to moms and a love letter really to moms. The title of the episode is Yamo, which is Assyrian slang for mom. And there's this particular song that plays while she's making olive oil and finding her own purpose again, after so many years after her husband passes away. So that song is so incredibly special. It's from a Syrian show called Ghawar that I've always wanted to put on American television. That is, it's a classic TV show. It's entitled after the main character, Ghawar, and there's a scene where he's essentially singing for Mother's Day to his moms, and it's a prayer. It's talking about how 9 months you carried me, and when you raised me, I gave you so much drama, and how many pairs of socks did you lay out for me? How many times did you go hungry to feed me? And the last verse is an entire prayer. And when I heard that song, I was about 6 years old, and there's only 2 times I've seen my father cry, was during that song and when my grandmother passed away, my mom's mom. And I've always wanted to put it on television, and we were able to track Ghawar down, the creator Dured Laham of that show, and he gave us direct permission to use that song. So the mom relationship is very, very important. If you watch my first special, there's a dedication to my mom as well. In that, it just happened naturally and organically. I didn't plan it. And then the girlfriend relationship is a great exploration into religion and having conversations that happen pretty often in relationships, but I've never really seen on American television before, where it's a genuine. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the lawn guy
Okay.
or not. I apologize. It happens in life. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Right.
But the relationship with the girlfriend was really important to highlight their differences, but they're also seeing like they both are believers in the end. And really, the tension about religion wasn't the biggest thing. Like Mo is in the show is using that as an excuse because he feels less than and he can't actually provide for her as he would like to because his immigration status is up in the air and he can't function or provide for her or his family as he would like. But he falls on the religious aspect, which is meaningful to him, and they are valid differences for him. But truly, it's about his ego. But those are like really beautiful relationships to explore, and then seeing him even discuss like the Arab relationship with the Spanish relationship, with the Mexicanos, and going into a little bit of history and talking about how Arabs spend time in Spain, and we're culturally very much alike, and potentially be the same, have Arab DNA in you. You don't know, you just do a cheek swab. So it's really interesting to see that all play out. And it was so much fun working with Teresa Ruiz, who was absolutely brilliant actress, and the woman who plays my mom, Farah, is absolutely spectacular in the show, and just warms my heart every time I watch her. She's incredible.
Well, that answer sprouted up 7 other questions. But one thing that I want to mention is that kind of parallel of the Mexican in America experience with the Palestinian experience. I mean, you bring up the wall motif more than once in the show, and I think it's a really apt thing to talk about right now.
Yeah, can you repeat the question? Because it's.
I mean, that was more of a statement than a question. I apologize.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, is there a question there? I was like, hold on.
But so, I mean, one of the questions that and I want to say that the scene that you mentioned and the song that you mentioned about moms is such a gorgeous scene, and it is a beautiful song. I don't speak Arabic, but I got tears in my eyes. Do Palestinian moms really make olive oil at home? And how does it taste compared to the stuff that you get here? There?
Like there's some that absolutely do. But we get deliveries every 6 months from our village back home, so we do that. But my mom does not do that herself. It was fictionalized. It was a great way for her to find her purpose and that touchstone to home. So it was a beautiful way to articulate that. And I can't even like talk about it too much because I get emotional. It's such a personal scene and it's so meaningful and it's for all mothers, not just you know Arab Palestinian moms. It's just the dedication to moms in general. Yama is essentially like our dear mama.
Mm. It is really beautiful. Um, you talked about the religions, the Christianity and Islam, kind of the interplay between the two. Obviously, in your stand-up and in the show, there are a lot of references to religion. You have a lot of fun with it. I've read things that you've said in the past about your relationship with Dave Chappelle and others, and I'm a First Amendment person, and I believe that no issue, even sacred issues, are sacred. Where do you fall on that?
I am always in favor of more speech, not taking away speech.
Yeah,
Whatever there is, whenever you start taking away people's free speech, it gets really dangerous. Even though there might be something you really disagree with, you don't take it away. I think whenever you have extreme speech, you need more speech. People that are going to oppose that and really in a healthy way, in a logical way, have these disputes. And I think that's what it comes down to is just talking things through,
yeah.
even if it makes you uncomfortable. There's things that make me uncomfortable in interviews and people try to put me on the spot, but it's important to just answer, in a grounded way and be really honest about it. And that's the only way you're going to find understanding. If you start
Well,
muzzling people and doing that, it's going to create a negative ripple effect, I believe.
I don't want to put you on the spot with this one, but as a writer from a Muslim background, when Salman Rushdie was attacked a few weeks ago, those of us who come from Islamic background, had to have an answer, right? And were you confronted with questions about what your take on
I mean,
that
I'd hope
situation?
people. I hope people that without having a Muslim background would have an
Yeah,
answer as well. I mean, the bottom line is like it's a obvious like this is a terrible thing that happened. I hope that it's
yeah,
unanimous.
yeah,
Nobody should get attacked and stabbed in the neck. I mean, I'm not meaning to look down on this and laughing on it. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the question that you have to like. It's like after 9/11, but like, how do you feel about this, Muslims?
right,
Like, bro, it's a horrible thing. What are you talking
yeah,
about? Like this is
yeah.
this is not even a question that should be posed. It's really I find it to be I understand why you asked it, but it's just I find it to be ridiculous. Obviously attacking anybody who's innocent and doing that it's well it's like in our religion killing one person is like killing all of humanity. That's the way it's looked at. So it's really horrible. I hope he's recovering okay. Whether I agree with him or disagree with him on his takes and how he sees the world doesn't matter. You can't just attack anybody, anyone. No one can attack while someone is on stage, they're performing or giving a speech. This is not the way we go about it. We're supposed to be one of the best creations in the world. It's like because we have logic, we have deduction, we can have conversations, whether no matter how difficult it is, and get to an understanding. Either we agree to disagree and we peacefully go on our ways, or not. Like that's the way it should be done. My
I
opinion.
appreciate that. Something else that comes up in your stand up is the travel document not being a passport. My wife was stateless for several years when she first came to the United States. Talk about the trials and tribulations of being a refugee in this country, even one who went to school here, was raised here, and feels pretty comfortable.
Yeah, it was a rough one not having a passport, and that's like that was a real eye opener to being there's one thing to be stateless on paper, and there's another one to like travel as a stateless person. and the conversations would be pretty humorous sometimes. You know, like when you're traveling and it says where you're born on the travel document. So where's your Kuwaiti passport? I'm like, no, I'm not Kuwaiti. Well, what do you mean you're not Kuwaiti? It says you're born in Kuwait. Like, yes, but both my parents are Palestinian, and in Kuwait it doesn't matter if you're born there. It matters where your parents come from. They're like, okay, well, give me your Palestinian passport. I'm like, man, I don't have Palestine's not a state. I don't have a Palestinian passport. Man, we don't live in Palestine. We live in Houston. We're filing for asylum. Like these, it's exhausting. Imagine answering that like probably 20 times on one trip, and then repeating that over and over again can create this. It's a really toxic thing that happens, and you start feeling like, where do I belong? And having this really like empty feeling inside, and just wanting to feel like you're the same as the next person next to you, but your documentation, your paperwork clearly show that you're not. You're in a very unique position. Um, and I just it was about patience. It's about like just breathing deep, and finding a really constructive way to deal with these emotions. And my art was a great medium for me. But you know, immigration, the asylee process is really long. And even if you get a fast court date and you get your asylum, it takes you 5 years after you're granted asylum to get your green card, and you can't even apply for citizenship until you get 4 years and 9 months after you get your green card. So you're talking about 10 years before you get your citizenship after you're granted asylum, and that creates a lot of tension, and essentially the system is set up in a way where uh, you almost have to do like illegally adjacent things to make a living, or put you in a situation to where you almost have to like be disingenuous, or have to lie in certain cases to just make a living. So it's tough. It's really tough, and it takes a toll on you. And I almost feel like it's by design, so you quit and just go somewhere else, or it creates cheap labor. So yeah, it's something that really needs to be fixed, in my opinion, and more organized, and have some kind of way to see, and hear more cases in a speedy manner, so people can contribute better to America. And it's kind of crazy because you do end up paying taxes while you're doing that. You're a part of society, and you contribute in that way, and you're still seen as someone who's not American. It's a painful one. It's tough.
And talk about, I mean, you alluded to this, but taking that toxic experience and transmuting it into art. I mean, how long do you have to sit with it before you can laugh at it? Or is that part of your own kind of therapeutic process of dealing with the realities of being a migrant in this country?
Yeah, I take it right away. I mean, as a stand-up, if something's bothering me, I talk about it immediately. It's what I do. It's just you whatever's for me. I write everything on stage. Excuse me, and I write everything on stage, and whenever I have something that bothers me, the funnier it is usually. So it was really, really important to constantly have that about my the way I perform, the subject matters that I take on are really personal to me, and that usually resonates with the audience on stage, because it's just seeing me kind of frustrated would in turn make it even funnier, and then it would be like this great partnership where I feel relieved afterwards, and then I found something really funny in an otherwise really stressful or hurtful situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was watching the second of your specials, and the frustrated use of an F-bomb is really evocative and effective. It makes you laugh every time.
I love that. I love that special.
It's really, really wonderful. I mean, when were you first attracted to doing stand-up? Obviously, you know, you've been a funny person your whole life, right? Like you've been trying to make people laugh since you were a kid. I mean, how did this all come together?
Well, stand up is an indigenous art form to America, so I wasn't really familiar with it. It was like there's three indigenous art forms: jazz, hip hop, and stand up comedy. And you know, jazz is already spread throughout the world. So when I came to America at 9 years old, you know, it was introduced to hip hop, which is a big part of my life to this day. And then I saw stand up, and I loved it. It has this storytelling tradition. As an Arab who comes from a storytelling tradition, I find it so fascinating to see one person on stage telling stories and being deeply personal at the same time while delivering these hilarious punchlines. It's like, and sharing it with a crowd. I was just immediately in love. I was like, this is what I'm going to do for a living. When I was 10 years old when I saw it, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And 4 years later, I started in my high school English class shortly after my father passed away, which makes sense, which really tracks. To take that pain and start doing stand up comedy was truly something that saved my life and refocused everything for me.
So you've got some really big projects coming up. Talk to me about Black Adam, which also stars The Rock.
I can't say anything. It's a DC comic book universe. I
Was
can't
it fun
say
to work on?
anything. Yes, it was so fun. I was like, where do I go with this? Hello? You know, they are so strict about these things. I didn't even see the script until I got there, basically. It was really amazing. But no, working with The Rock was such a pleasure. I mean, he's exactly what he advertises, which is very frustrating. You're kind of hoping for him to have a little slip up or something, but no,
Yeah.
he's such a genuine human being and really cares. And you know, one of his heroes is Muhammad Ali, and one of my heroes is Muhammad Ali. And he takes on the Muhammad Ali mentality of just like making time for everyone as much as he can and being present and really funny. Man, I don't like saying all these nice things about him. Okay, I just like I want to find some kind of flaw about him, but I can't. He just sent me like 4 cases of Zoa energy drinks just because it was just so nice, and really, and also you can't mention Black Adam without talking about Pierce Brosnan. I mean, the entire cast. First of all, we're very close and we're really excited. I just saw the movie a couple of weeks ago. They've just outdone themselves. The story is so good, and it's awesome. But as amazing as The Rock is, I mean, Pierce Brosnan is spectacular in it. What a you know, that's someone I was really really excited to work with. I couldn't
Mm.
believe that he was in the movie, and I was so excited to do my scene with him that I forgot to worry about my lines. Like I just didn't even. I was like, oh my god, yeah, I should memorize these. I was so excited, and he's an incredible person and someone who's done. You know, he's like my James Bond. To see him
Right.
and to work with him and to learn from him, he just every day came to work with such an energy and, and enthusiasm and excitement that just really was so contagious. But everyone in the movie, we have a phenomenal relationship, and we're going to hang out today as a cast just
Awesome.
because we want to see each other, and that really resonates on screen. And I'm so excited to see such a different character like Black Adam come to life, a superhero character like this. That's so incredibly unique, and I do believe that The Rock's entire career has come to a head with this film. It was all everything that he's done before was really in service of this particular film and this universe. It's so special. It's really special.
We're almost out of time, but my last question for you is that the first season of Mo ends on kind of a cliffhanger. What are
I
plans
would
for
say
season
so.
2? You know, I don't want to give it away
I
here,
can't.
but
It's
you
gonna be
know,
a spoiler. It's gonna be a massive spoiler, but I'm working on it right now, and it's gonna be really exciting and fun. That's all I can tell you. I can't really
fantastic.
say anything else. Yeah, but yeah, it's going to be a great exploration into. I can't even talk about it because it'll ruin the show, especially the way the show closes. But
But it's coming. It's happening. Yeah.
it's coming. I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it seems like it. I mean, it'd be really. I think it. I think it will. I feel very confident of that.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Mo Amer, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And sorry about the noises.
It's all good. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. To check out our other interviews we have coming up, head to WashingtonPostLive.com to find out more. Again, I'm Jason Rezaian, and thank you for joining us for today's Washington Post Live.